You show up, all of a sudden, you're showing up and you're holding a placard. Next thing you know, you're showing up and you're doing another thing because you know how much the people next to you care about this, and you share that same idea of caring about this kaupapa. Then, all of a sudden, I'm jumping over police officers and getting arrested because that's how far things can go with you. You get drawn into this, the fire starts to ignite, it starts to burn, and then all of a sudden you're a raging flame. You care about something so much that you're like, no, I am going to stop this. I spoke to so many people that turned up to Canal Road the day that we held off the police. There's 100 police there, easily. And we had kuia there who'd never been involved in activist movements at all. When we held off the police, they were just so empowered that day. They just could not believe it. Now, there are people that get arrested in these spaces, but that's not what we're asking everybody to do. What we're asking people to do is just like show up, be empowered on that day, and that is ahi. That is the spark that will continue to just burn. And so many people who show up in any capacity, even if it's just to titiro, to just have a look and be like, what's going on here? You're drawn in to that. You cannot help it.
Have fun. Give me some. Give me some.
I have been aware of Canal Road as a grove of trees for almost 20 years. Nearly everybody in Auckland who knew about Rākau knew about that grove of trees. When we found out, oh my God, these trees are at risk, they're going to be cut down, and I'm talking about 100-year-old Rākau, some of which were the only one of their kind in our city, well, that was the movement that kind of grew the tree protection movement in Tāmaki Makaurau, and it was due to the actions of William Lee, who originally stopped the trees being felled on the very first day. And that afternoon, a bunch of people took to the trees, no harnesses, they just climbed them and sat at them to halt the works. And I turned up there that day as an arborist, and I can remember climbing some of the trees to get some of these people out, putting harnesses on them, and they're looking into the eyes of one lady in particular, and she didn't trust me at all because I was an arborist. She was apprehensive of me saving her from this tree, rescuing her, bringing her down safely from this tree, because she didn't want an arborist a part of that, because she was fearful that I would cut that tree down. Me and that lady could not be closer now. We sat in those Rākau for 100 days after that. There were times, 2 o'clock in the morning, I would be staying in some of these trees. I would hear her underneath me. She would be talking to me. She would be there in the middle of the night looking after me. And through this process, we forged not just a community, but a whānau. The people who are involved in Canal Road, we're closer than friends. We're all family. We've formed this bond where I go, they come, where they go, I go, every single time, because that struggle was like forging us in fire. We're all molded together at the moment, and it's through this like joint belief that protecting Rākau, that protecting the environment, it's something that just has to be done, and it's something that is so meaningful to so many different walks of life, not just young Māori from South Auckland and not just old ladies from North Auckland. It's across all party lines. New Zealanders care about nature. We just do. Canal Road was definitely a battle lost in a larger war, but man, fire burns and it's not easily extinguished, and it was so evident. When we saw those trees fall, it was like a worst case scenario. But man, a karanga went out across the nation, you know, like we were in lockdown, but the borders were open to that whakaaro, and it spread across across Aotearoa. I was actually in Queenstown once when someone recognised me and said to me, hey, look, I know what the work that you've been doing for Rākau. So kei te maramao, I totally understand people look at Canal Road as a loss, and I mourn the loss of those Rākau, but it's just strengthened our kaupapa. The very next tree protection that I went to, a grove of 100-year-old kahikatea lowland forests, something that we only have 1% of left in Aotearoa. I walked onto that site by myself. They stopped work, and those trees are still standing right now. But that wasn't me. Like, that was me walking on with everyone who has been supporting this kaupapa, and they may as well have been standing there with me that whole time, because when I asked them to stop, they recognized, yep, that's the movement from Canal Road. This is the tree protection people. And they stopped work, and not only did they stop work, they stopped the entire development. I have a vision of Tāmaki Makaurau where our trees are protected in a way that they used to be since the 70s. When they made these huge slashes to the RMA and they took away tree protection, basically that it was open season for developers. It meant that what's going on at Putiki, consent could be granted that allowed them to build a marina in somebody's ancestral waters. Ihumātao, exactly the same thing. When they granted resource consent to allow the building of all of those houses out there, despite the fact that mana whenua was not behind it, the only reason they can do that, what happened to the RMA under the national government 2010 to 2012. We can have houses and Rākau. You know, we can have development, but it needs to be regulated. And what we're seeing with all of these resistances that are going on across Aotearoa, they're allowing things to be consented without checking with mana whenua to ensure that that should happen, without checking with the community to ensure that the community are behind it. Public don't get notified, we're not consulted, all of a sudden we're here fighting against you. That's how we're all connected. I totally feel like ancestral mana, like my tupuna standing behind me saying, you're meant to be standing at the front here, you're meant to be saying to people there's a rāhui happening here, this is our tikanga, this is what's meant to be upheld. I don't think I ever feel more powerful than when I am resisting against the most powerful. But it's not all me. It's so much of it is like, when they call it a movement, it's not just a bunch of people moving whānau, it's like wairua moving throughout all of us, and that's what I'm feeling in those moments. There is you, that comes from your wai, your birth waters, and then there is your wairua, your second you, your you on the inside. I never feel more in tune with my you on the inside, with who I am, than in those moments where I'm standing up for what I know I believe in my wairua. And that's what you feel in those moments. You feel completely complete. Your whole you, because you're standing up for what your inner you believes in, and your outer you feels powerful because of that. I wish I could give that to everybody. I wish I could give that to everybody. When we marched this morning, I could see like the youth, and I could see them experiencing that feeling of like, yo, this is what I'm meant to be doing. We all share that same philosophy. So when we're standing there, we all feel connected. We all feel like, yep, we could not be fighting for anything more real, because every single one of us believes in it. So it's not just what's happening within me and within them, it's happening to all of us at the same time. Anyone who has been on a hikoi, like a hikoi with the waiata are ringing out and the chants are ringing out, you're not just alone there, you're all together. You're all together, and you feel powerful because you are complete, but you feel powerful because you're like completely with everybody else. And that's why activism is so strong, It doesn't matter what the powerful do to us, our power is in the people. Our power is in our connection, and you can't beat that.
Tonu mātou! Ake, ake, ake! Ka whawhai tonu mātou! Ake, ake, ake! Ka whawhai tonu mātou! Ake, ake, ake! Ka whawhai tonu mātou! Ake, ake, ake!